Ahoy, shipmates! Welcome back to the Cruise Ship Safety and Security Channel, the only place where we navigate the high seas of maritime law without running aground on boredom. Ever wondered how a cruise ship magically transforms into a floating Las Vegas the moment it leaves port? Or why an 18-year-old can legally sip a cocktail in the middle of the ocean, but not in their own country? Welcome to the wild, weird, and sometimes legally questionable world of international waters. Let's set sail into the murky depths of maritime law where the rules aren't quite what they seem. So, you live in a country where gambling is illegal. Bummer, right? But wait, just beyond the horizon, there's a ship willing to take you offshore, where suddenly the dice are rolling, the drinks are flowing, and the laws of your homeland are left in the wake. It's like stepping into an alternate reality, where your government just shrugs and says, "Not my problem." While dedicated gambling ships have mostly sailed into history, cruise ships with casinos still take full advantage of this legal loophole. The same goes for drinking ages. Step onto a cruise departing the US, and on some cruise lines, as soon as you're out of national waters, an 18-year-old can legally raise a glass. Talk about a literal booze cruise! But does this mean international waters are some lawless free-for-all where pirates rule and anything goes? Not quite, matey. On land, it's simple. When you're in a country, you follow that country's laws. But at sea, it's a little more complicated. Enter the concept of the port state, which has legal jurisdiction over its territorial waters 12 nautical miles from the coastline. That's right. Once a ship is within 12 miles of a country, it has to follow that country's laws. And fun fact, back in the day, this was set at 3 miles because that was the maximum range of a cannon. So basically, maritime law was originally written by people who wanted to stay just out of shooting distance. Beyond that, we have the contiguous zone, up to 24 miles out, where a country can still enforce rules on customs, taxes, immigration, and sanitation because nothing ruins a cruise like an outbreak of norovirus. Then there's the exclusive economic zone, up to 200 miles, where countries claim control over resources like fishing and oil. But for most onboard laws, this area is basically international waters, or as we like to call it, international whatever-we-want waters. So who calls the shots once you're beyond those territorial waters? That's where the flag state comes in. A ship follows the laws of the country it's registered in, no matter where it is. If a ship is registered in the United Kingdom law applies even in the middle of the Pacific. And we're not just talking about shipping regulations. We're talking about things like minimum wage, gambling laws, and whether or not you can legally get married on board. Basically, it's like choosing your own adventure, but with tax benefits. This brings us to an interesting dilemma: the two ships, two laws scenario. Imagine two identical ships floating side by side in international waters. One is registered in Yankee, a country with a minimum wage of $20 per hour, and the other in Zulu, where minimum wage doesn't exist. The Yankee-registered ship has higher costs, which means higher prices for passengers or cargo transport. Naturally, customers will flock to the cheaper option, the Zulu-registered ship. What's the solution for the Yankee ship? Simple. Re-register in Zulu. Welcome to the world of flags of convenience, where your ship's nationality is about as real as a reality TV romance. Some countries, like our fictional Zulu, have made a business out of offering extremely business-friendly laws. No minimum wage, no strict environmental protections, no problem. Shipping companies flock to these flag states faster than seagulls to a bag of unattended chips. And that's why most cruise ships you board aren't registered in the country they operate from, but instead in places like Panama, the Bahamas, or Liberia. Because who wouldn't want to run a billion-dollar operation from a tropical island? But what happens when a Zulu-registered ship enters Yankee waters? Well, once it crosses into those 12 nautical miles, Yankee has some control. As long as the ship meets minimum international standards, it's free to pass through under innocent passage, which, despite the name, doesn't mean the ship is up to anything innocent. Docking in a Yankee port, however, is a different story. Port state control means inspections, and if a ship isn't up to scratch, it can be detained. Because nothing says welcome like a clipboard-wielding official waiting at the gangway. And then there's the infamous Jones Act in the U.S., which requires any ship operating entirely between U.S. ports to be built, owned, and crewed by Americans. That's why the Pride of America is the only major cruise ship registered in the U.S., and why cruises to Hawaii often make a random stop in Mexico just to comply with the law. Nothing like a totally not suspicious, "Oh look, we're in Mexico for 20 minutes detour to keep things legal." So, while international waters aren't exactly a lawless paradise, they do give shipowners the freedom to pick and choose which country's laws they want to follow. It's less about anarchy, and more about business finding the most convenient flag to fly. Basically, it's like shopping for legal loopholes, but with lifeboats. Next time you step on a cruise ship and see a Bahamian flag, just remember, that's not just a branding choice, it's a financial strategy. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the quirks of maritime law, drop a like, leave a comment. If you've ever been on a cruise and spotted a flag from a country you've never even visited, let us know in the comments. And subscribe for more fascinating and sometimes ridiculous insights into life at sea.